Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening in today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sheila Cumming. I'm a nurse specialist in energy medicine. I have a passion in helping professional women in midlife who are feeling overwhelmed with work stress and anxiety, and help them to reconnect with that inner strength and regain their vibrancy. And today I've asked one of my clients, Julie, to share her experience of her journey with that overwhelm and work stress and anxiety that she was experiencing. So I first met Julie way back in September 2018, and we've been working very closely together since then. So thank you very much for coming on the call today, Julie. I'm
No
sure
problem.
people are interested to hear what your journey's been like for you. So 2018 September is when we first met. Can you take us to what life was like for you back then?
Yeah, it was awful. I had gone into work on the first Monday in September of 2018, and I just couldn't function anymore. I cried all the way into work in the car. I had a good hour's commute, so plenty of time for some tears. And when I got into work, I sat down. I was still sort of crying, trying to hide it from everybody, obviously. And opened up some emails and found that I couldn't understand what they even meant. I couldn't read them. I couldn't make sense of them. It was like everything was so much bigger than I thought. So, I mean, these weren't difficult emails. I can see that now. These were just normal run-of-the-mill, everyday stresses and strains of working as a senior manager in an international manufacturing company. So, but I would say I fell apart. I had obviously been struggling up until that point. I'm very much a people pleaser. And a people pleaser working as a senior manager who will do everything she possibly can to try and please the company, the bosses, whilst also managing staff and trying to keep them happy and try and get the best out of them, was just a really difficult position to be in, especially when I took no time for myself at all. I think, if I'm honest, looking back, I had no concept that I even existed and that I even needed anything, as long as everybody else was happy. If I could walk into a meeting and make people smile, my life was easier. And I think obviously it just got to the point where that just took its toll, and basically kind of broke me.
Yeah.
And
So when you say broke me, what was your sleeping like and your eating like, or were you turning to anything as a crutch to help you at those times?
Yeah, alcohol. I was very much I was on this constant binge diet, where I was either eating anything I could get my hands on, or I was dieting because I wouldn't eat because I was trying to save calories for wine. And you know, I was never drinking any more than a lot of other people do, but it was going through my system so quickly. I would quite frequently, particularly on a Friday afternoon when we would finish work early, come home and have maybe 3 glasses of wine before 5 o'clock on an empty stomach. So then there were blackouts. I don't really remember that time at all. It was really, really dreadful. And then I would wake up the next morning and it was just that kind of almost like the fear. And I had never really done anything wrong, but it was just that fear of not remembering what had happened, who was there, who was involved, what had I said. And it was just awful. So alcohol was very much, I mean, I would literally get in the car at night and think, oh, I can't wait to get a glass of wine.
Yeah.
So that was the real crutch.
Your crutch, which is quite common for women. I think it's a certainly a growing thing coming in from a stressful day and taking that glass of wine or 2 or 3. Yeah.
And then I do feel it got to the point where, you know, it was a bottle and then a bottle and a half. Because one bottle just didn't seem like enough, and it's because it wasn't taking the edge off anything. If anything, it was probably magnifying it all. I think from the outside looking in, everything looked great. I had a really good job. I had a lovely husband, a nice house, 3 lovely dogs. I was always very happy-go-lucky, smiley, cheery, life and soul of the office to a certain extent. But work was my life. I, other than having the dogs and going for walks at the weekend and the drinking part of it, it was all about work. It was all about career progression. That's what I believed was the right thing.
Yeah, so we're very driven, as an
Yeah,
individual, driven to succeed in the
yeah,
business. Yeah.
yeah, very, very much so, actually, to the detriment of myself again. So, phone on all weekend, phone on all night, going off on holiday for a fortnight and making the mistake of answering the phone on the first Monday and then working for the full fortnight and getting nothing back for that, no holidays in return, no pay, and being so devastated by it. But at the same time, that's just what I had to do.
Yeah, so 120% committed to your work.
Yeah,
just giving everything to your work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was the turning point?
Well, the sort of crash on that particular Monday morning, I think the turning point really was a long time before that. I think I really struggled to deal with conflict at work, and unfortunately in Scottish manufacturing there's quite a large amount of conflict, and I got to the point where I could feel myself, like, instead of just dealing with it and stepping on it, it was almost like it was blown out of all proportion inside my head. So, my staff, the guys who worked for me, would come in and tell me something, and I would like hit the roof and come back down again, and the ability to deal with it rationally had gone. Everything was always so typical of other people. Trust them, trust this department, trust that department, all that kind of stuff. And the tears, really for me, the tears were the bit that made it. There was lots of people at my work that overreacted. There was lots of people that got angry, but there weren't lots of people that cried all the time, and that was the bit that was really hard.
That's the bit it's hard to hide, isn't it? I'm sure you hid an awful lot what you were experiencing from your work colleagues.
Yeah,
you perceive, and even that kind of probably aggressive reaction is more acceptable in the workplace as well, isn't it? Rather than the kind of the tearful, almost.
Very much so. But then I got to the point where that the anger part of it, the defensiveness, I brought home with me. So anytime I was questioned on anything, I would blow up. But at the same time, I did take the tears into work. So I actually got to the point where I really didn't even care who saw me being upset. I would sort of, I could see the rolling, oh, she's in there, she's upset again, sort of thing, and that made me feel like a complete failure. Why couldn't I cope? Why couldn't I? It was an awful, awful time.
Yeah, I can imagine it was, really.
Yeah.
So what did you decide to do about it then?
Well, that Monday, persuaded by a colleague, actually, I ended up walking out of the office about kind of 11, 12-ish. And that was something I never, I'd often said, I'm going to go off sick, I'm going to go home, I'm going to do this. I'd said that for a long time. But this day, I actually just knew that I couldn't. And my boss was in a meeting and I was waiting for her to come back. And I just got to the point where I just couldn't do it. So this girl helped kind of smuggle me out of the factory, just straight out the door into the car. And I remember the hour's drive home, crying the whole way, not being able to see. But I obviously made a doctor's appointment straight away because I knew that this wasn't right. And so went to see the doctor, and I think was signed off for, gosh, I think like a week or something, maybe 2 weeks, maybe. And that gave me that, I was beside myself that I'd actually had to do that, because you just don't do that at my work. Anyone who has ever done that before has just sort of disappeared eventually. It's just not really the done thing. And I kind of knew that if I did do that, it would probably be the end of my career, but I couldn't go on. So that bought me a little bit of breathing space, because I had 2 weeks or a week or 2 weeks where I didn't need to go back in. But the doctor then had sent me to a consultation with a nurse, I think a couple of weeks later, to go through a list of, counsellors or alternative therapies. I mean, at the time it was all just a blur. And this is the bit that we'll never find out who gave me your contact details, but I got this blank sheet of paper in amongst lists and lists and lists of counsellors and everything, this blank sheet of paper that just said Enhanced Wellbeing's website address. So I came home and I sort of realised that at a time when you're at your lowest in your life, I was responsible for what happened next. Nobody was sending me for anything. Nobody was taking me anywhere. I wasn't getting shown into a ward to be looked after. It was like, here's a list, get on with it. So I went to your website and there you were. It was probably, I don't know if it was the website or actually the Facebook page, but you've got a like a kind of welcome video.
The welcome video, yes.
Yeah, and you just spoke to me. It was literally like you were just talking to me. Word for word, I was going, yeah. You know, are you struggling to cope? Yeah. Are you you know, feeling really yeah, all of these things.
I think a key point, sorry to interrupt you, Jill, but I think you've made a key point there as well. Like when you were at your work, it was external blame, it was like other people's fault, and now you're kind of getting uncoping, and you're going to doctors, they're encouraging you then to start looking at taking responsibility for what's happening rather than blaming others. So that is a crucial shift. It's the shift of responsibility. So that is a really crucial point there, when you realised, if I'm going to get better, I need to take the reins.
Yeah, but it horrified me as well, because I genuinely thought that you would slot into some mental health system. I mean, I say that, I didn't even know what mental health was back then. I was diagnosed with anxiety and low mood. And I actually like almost laughed at that, because I thought, how on earth can I send this line into the office and it says anxiety and low mood? Like, grow up, you know. So I found that part of it actually quite difficult to deal with, because I probably spent, yes, I took responsibility in that I found you and I started coming to see you, but I still expected this magic wand somewhere to be waved by someone that would make it all okay. I think it took me a really long time to accept that it was my choice and my journey.
But that's, I mean, what you're describing there is, most of us feel like that when we're at that stage. We just want somebody to come and just make it all better. And I think when you look back, you think, how could it be like that? But that's a pretty normal reaction to have. So it is, So did you have any concerns about coming? But so you said, I spoke to you in the welcome video, that you kind of felt that I kind of understood where you were coming from, but what concerns did you have?
I didn't really have any concern. I mean, I had no idea what kinesiology was, but I think that was by the by, because you had spoken to me and I was just so convinced that you got it, that it didn't really matter what you were going to do with me as long as you got it. Because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what any of this was. So concern wise, no, I really don't think I did. I think I genuinely came to that first appointment probably just terrified because of what I was about to tell you, and that, you know, that part of it is really nerve-wracking, but you made me feel so comfortable. I think I probably walked into our first appointment thinking you were a counsellor and just went and blurted it all out before I realised we actually had some work to do. So yeah, concerns in the nervousness part of it, but you just take that out, you take that away, and it does just, you sort of just relax the minute you've got somebody that isn't looking at you like you've got two heads and telling you that everything is okay.
Yeah, it's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, because you don't think, like, there was nothing in my head that said anything was okay. I was breaking all of the corporate rules. I was letting my guard down. And I say corporate rules, my life rules, you know, everything that I had grown up with, I had lived by, I was breaking all of that.
And what was your expectations of the treatment at that point?
I think, like I've said, that I genuinely thought I was coming to see a counsellor. I had no expectation at all. I trusted you enough from that video that whatever it was going to be something worthwhile,
Yeah.
purely because you knew how I was feeling, or you talked like you knew how I was feeling. Therefore, whatever you were going to do was just going to help that. So I don't think I had any expectations at all. And I think if anything, I had no idea.
And that's okay.
It's
absolutely fine. And that's quite often the way. So it is. How quickly did you expect to recover?
Oh, I honestly thought that, well, I remember leaving that first appointment and making my second appointment, and was really surprised that you weren't giving me an appointment for the following week, because to me, if you go for any form of counselling, it's like week after week after week after week. But you had done work with me that meant that I couldn't have another appointment within, it was like, I want to say 5 weeks, but there was something that was going to work in my body that meant that I couldn't then do any other work for this extra period of time. And I was like, what am I meant to do between now and then? So I genuinely thought when I started that I was going to have maybe 4, 6 appointments with you, and that was going to be enough to kind of switch me back on again, to sort of plug all the bits back in, and I'd be fine and I would get back to work. No idea I would still be coming to see you 2.5 years later. But that's not, even though, as I say that, that's not a slight on the treatment at all. That is really showing me how much I had to work on.
Just how exhausted and unwell you really were. Yeah. So where are you now that you've gone through the last couple of years with me? And there's been other things involved as well. It's not just me, because you've had medication support as well from the...
I got medication from the doctor, which didn't particularly agree with me, and then that got changed in the December of 2019, and since that point on, I have, from a medication perspective, I've found the right thing for me. But as far as like my journey goes, I was going to say I'm a completely different person, but actually I'm really not. I think going through the kinesiology has allowed me to realise that being me was okay. Didn't expect to do that.
But that's a big thing, isn't it? And it's like not accepting you for being you and allowing yourself to express you, what you enjoy.
And actually finding me, because I had got to the point where I had almost, as ridiculous as it sounds, no likes and dislikes, no hobbies, I lived to work, and that meant bringing money home, helping the lifestyle, and it was about finding me again. And it's not about finding me, but it's about realizing what was inside and bringing that back out again. So I am a completely different person, but I'm the person that I was meant to be. And that is all through, honestly, that's all through the work. I mean, I know I've got the medication, so there is that part of it, but for me, the medication has taken away what were fairly dark, almost suicidal thoughts. It's taken that part away, whereas the kinesiology is helping me to understand who I am, why I react to certain things, and actually stopping all of that from happening as we work through those issues. And like everybody who ever talks about this, I have no idea how it works, but I just know that it does. We can do work on a session, and literally the following week I can be doing the same thing that I've had the issue with, and kind of be so aware that it's not bothering me and it's not affecting me, and I'm like, check me. It's a really, really lovely feeling to know that it's me that's changed as a result of the work that we've done, rather than, because the triggers, the other people, they're not different. My reactions to it are different.
Absolutely.
And it's a really powerful thing to be aware of, and almost kind of secretly high-five yourself inside your head.
Why not? Yeah, of course, because you've got to just give yourself credit for, because I release the blockages when we do the work, but you're the one that does the work. It's your body. I'm just allowing your body to do what it needs to do to be truly you. And you're the one that does all the work. I just facilitate it to allow you to do that. And so, yeah, big
But I think,
pat in the back.
I think I live my life now with looking for things to think, right, what can Sheila and I work on next session?
Yeah.
But also, it's also really exciting is the right word. It's really exciting to come to a session and not know what you're going to do, because you think, actually, do you know, I think our last session I said, things are good, I'm feeling good, you know, let's just go with it and see what comes up.
Yeah.
And that part of it's interesting.
Yeah, so you've kind of moved on from being ill health to now exploring and developing a healthier lifestyle and life for yourself. So it's although it's like a different, sometimes when you're so low, we have to get that energy built up a bit first before you can get to that stage that you're at now, where you're actually looking at your quality of life, what you enjoy, new work line, well, they said that, but you've moved on from that line of work now and exploring new lines of work that that works around your life rather than your life working around your work. So
and that part of it's been really important. Just a completely different change to work-life balance. And I mean, in the very early days, I remember like coming home from seeing you and just having to go straight to bed, because it was working through getting you through day to day. Whereas now I'm able to look at the future a wee bit more and not be terrified of it. And you know I've still got a fair bit on my journey to go, but then that's probably because I'm always very hard on myself and expect perfection tomorrow. We might need to work on that later.
But I think what you're saying is it takes time. Like true internal healing takes time, but our expectations is we want it done and dusted now. We want to, and we initially tend to want to be back to where we were, but really we don't. We actually want to move on to being, as you say, finding your true self.
And I'm really, really glad that I've not gone back to being that person, because it wasn't me. It wasn't who I wanted to be, and it turned me into someone that I didn't like. And now I can just be me, and I can choose what I want to do. And I'm not worried about where the money's going to come from. Obviously, like I was made redundant, so that was a year ago. I'm not worried about that, because it's all going to just pan out. And I think that's the difference. I think I just it's almost like stepping out of the matrix. It's like stepping out of the you must do this and you must do that and you must do the next thing. And it's such a relaxing place to be, and exciting place to be, because I can really sort of choose to do what I want and when I want to do it.
Yeah, fantastic. You've been doing amazing. It's been lovely to witness your journey throughout all this. It really has been amazing. The transformation has been incredible, Julie. You've done so well. But there's also something else you've been doing that's been helping you as well. And you've got a passion to help and support other people with mental health struggles as well. Do you want to just have a wee?
Just back it's almost this time last year, the Beath townhouse had asked for people to keep a diary of life in lockdown. So that was where it kind of came from. They want future generations to be able to see what our life has been like. And so I decided, I'd been thinking for a long time about writing down how I felt about things, and I found that I quite enjoy it. Like, I make myself laugh. I don't know whether I make anybody else laugh, but I make myself laugh.
You do.
And that was really important. So I started writing a blog, and it's called The Rambling Sloth, and it's a daily blog at the moment. So every day I just write about my life in lockdown, and so I deal with obviously mental health issues and how I'm feeling, and it's almost a real journaling way of making sense of the mood swings that I still have and what's caused them, why am I feeling like this, and obviously talking about kind of how life has changed in lockdown and things like that. So there are good days, there are really bad days, but it's not a chore for me to do. And I just think that if I can help one person who would look at my life and think I had it all to realize how I felt inside, then to me that's really, really important. That you know, in the comments I get back from people that I haven't seen for years and years and years, and it's just so lovely to think that they've read it and thought, geez, I connect with that part of it.
Yeah.
So I love doing it, and yeah, it's just we're coming up to the year. I think I have a wee day off. No, I was going to say I'll have a day off, but yeah, I just love it, and it really it's my one purpose at the moment. Sadly, it doesn't pay the bills, but you know, it is just about getting the word out there, and it's about making sure that we keep talking about mental health, talk about how bad people can feel, and just get the word out there. So
yeah. I think when people hear other people, they realise actually they're not the only ones, because isolation can be one of the main things. You think you're the only one that feels these things, and these ways is abnormal. And then knowing there's a road out as well is just is brilliant to know there is a road out. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent, Julie. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your journey and your story with us today. So thank you. So if anybody wants to follow Julie's blog, as she said, it's the Rambling Sloth, and you can find her on Facebook, and it's around
WordPress.com. Yeah.
Right. So on there as well. If you wish to find out more about how you can be helped in the way Julie has been helped, you can contact myself by phoning or texting 078 6768 2231. And at the end, I'll put my website up as well, and or email as well. Yeah, excellent. So feel free to get in touch. I do offer free 20-minute tasters. At the moment, I'm working solely online, but the shop will be open up hopefully by the end of April to see people face to face. But online's working brilliantly, so it's fine, isn't it?
It's just as good. Just as good.
You've
it's nice to see your face.
Yes, it's not covered up with a mask. Anyway, thank you very much, Julie, and take care, and I'll speak to you soon.
No problem. Thank you.
See you later.